Hi, and welcome to Horror Recapped. Today we will be examining the 2015 horror film titled The Final Girl. In this film, we follow a young girl named Max and her friends as they try to survive after being sucked into a 1980s cult classic horror film. One such film that Max's late mother starred in many years ago. Will the machete-wielding maniac kill them all, or can they band together to make it out alive? We'll find out. Spoilers ahead. Beware and enjoy. The film begins with a very 1980s-looking trailer to a horror film titled Camp Bloodbath. It's revealed that Max is watching this film trailer on her phone while waiting in a vehicle. We see via a headshot that her mother, Amanda, was actually in the film. Just then, Amanda enters the car, disappointed that she failed to land another acting role. It seems she's been typecast as Nancy, the Scream Queen from Camp Bloodbath. As they travel home from the audition, a car crashes into them, killing Amanda. After 3 years, Max has moved in with her aunt. At a diner, she meets her best friend, Gertie, and a boy named Chris, with whom she is smitten, to study the classics. Duncan, Gertie's obnoxious stepbrother, appears and disrupts the group. He's a great horror lover, so he invites Max to see Camp Bloodbath and its sequel, Camp Bloodbath 2: Cruel Summer, at the local theater that night. Max unwillingly agrees to attend because it is the anniversary of her mother's death. Chris turns up later that night at the movie to join Max and Gertie, and to share his M&M-covered popcorn. While Max is pleased that Chris has arrived, she is also disappointed because Chris' ex-girlfriend, Vicky, has also arrived just in time to spoil the fun. It seems Vicky and Max were previously BFFs, but following the death of Max's mother, Amanda, they grew apart. During the movie, a member of the crowd in the rear of the theater drops a full bottle of open vodka, which rolls to the bottom of the auditorium, spilling all of its contents before smashing at the front. Then, of course, some idiot lights a blunt, allowing the hot ash to ignite the flammable alcohol, and the theater begins to go up in flames. Scrambling to get to safety, Max cuts a hole in the screen with a machete that a fan dropped while attempting to flee. Max, Chris, Gertie, Vicky, and Duncan jump through the slit in the screen and are suddenly transported into Camp Bloodbath, a 92-minute film. They end up in the woods outside the camp, where a yellow van carrying two of the film's actors, Kurt and Tina, drives by every 92 minutes and asks for instructions. The third time around, Duncan lies and says they're all camp counselors, and if they can come along, he'll give them directions. In the van, Max encounters Nancy, the character her mother played in the film, and all of her raw feelings about her mother's death resurface. They realize they're in the movie and decide to stay and see it finish so they may escape with the final girl, because apparently it's a thing in these type of movies that there is always a final girl who survives the massacres. They encounter the film's psycho killer and expect not to be harmed since they are not technically in the film. However, after killing his first two victims, the film's villain, Billy Murphy, slings his machete and kills Duncan. The remainder of the company realize that they are in danger and flee. Billy does not kill virgins in the film, only those who have had sex. Thus, the group tries to discourage the cast from having sex, preventing Billy from appearing. Chris keeps an eye on Kurt, the sex fiend character. Another of the counselors, Blake, is taken by Gertie, and she falls in love with him. Vicky teams up with the film's final girl, Paula, and Max tries her hardest to keep her mother, Nancy, a virgin. Tina is stuffed into a life jacket, and her hands are duct taped with cooking mittens to keep her from pulling off her garments. That way, she wouldn't have to go to Pound Town. Gertie lets it slip that Billy Murphy's legend is true, and he intends to kill everyone. The film counselors are alarmed, and Paula hops into the car with Kurt. As they speed away, Paula crashes into Duncan, who is still alive, and then into a totem pole. Duncan is, without a doubt, no longer alive. The remaining counselors reconvene, and they decide that the lone remaining virgin of the group will be the new final female, now that the film's initial sole survivor has died. But there are actually two virgins, Max and Nancy. Surprisingly left off the list was Gertie, whose V-card was taken in a van down by the river last summer by an autistic boy, hence she was disqualified. So they now plan to wrestle Billy's machete from him and have Max use it to sever Billy's head. While they devise a strategy, Max convinces herself that if Nancy survives the film, she will be able to accompany her home. Even if it's simply a movie version of her mother, she'd like to see her again. Later that night, in an attempt to lure in Billy, they have Tina do a striptease out of her life jacket. Billy is enraged and walks over to kill her with his machete. Tina panics and trips over a wire intended for Billy, falling headlong into a bear trap, where she is killed instantly. Billy then murders Blake and chases everyone up the cabin stairs. Vicky and Gertie are trapped beneath a massive bookcase there. He then uses his machete to stab Gertie. But before he can do the same to Vicky, she pulls a cord that leads to a bucket full of gasoline, alcohol, or anything else highly explosive. Just as the three of them are about to flee through a window, the liquid strikes the flames of the blazing arrows that Max, Chris, and Nancy had launched into Billy's chest. The room catches fire, but the three survivors aren't safe yet. Billy leaps from the window, enveloped in flames, and lands directly in front of them. Billy stabs Chris before kidnapping Nancy. Max abandons Chris at a church in order to get her mother, Nancy. Nancy is held captive at Billy's hideout, an old rundown barn. Max and Billy struggle, and Billy stabs her, but luckily she and Nancy are still able to flee and return to the church to regroup. Nancy informs Max that she knows she has to die in order for Max to genuinely be the last girl. Max tells Nancy in a tearful goodbye that the woman who plays her is Max's real-life mother, and she can't bear losing her again. But Nancy has made up her mind. In a brave and selfless act of heroism, Nancy performs a seductive striptease. First time that's ever been said. Of course, this striptease attracts our killer, and in one swift motion, he stabs Nancy to death. Max, the final girl, rises and walks out to the meadow, determined to sever Billy's skull. She murders Billy, dead, after a brief fight. Chris exits the church and the two exchange kisses. The final credits roll into the sky as Camp Bloodbath comes to a close. Chris and Max are transported out of the film as it rewinds. Max awakens at a hospital, next to Chris in a bed. Gertie, Vicky, and Duncan are all still alive when she arrives, but Billy's creepy music interrupts the happy conclusion. The group understands they aren't back home when Billy crashes through the hospital doors. Instead, they're at Camp Bloodbath 2, Cruel Summer, a sequel to the film. The final girl ends with Max charging full force towards the bloody killer. That's it for this recap. Give us a like if you enjoyed watching. And if you're interested in more horror recaps like this, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.